Hi Destiny, this is Miss Smith, your English 165 online instructor, and I want to offer you feedback on the key sections you submitted for the semi-formal report. Now in this review, I am not looking to grade what you've submitted thus far, and so I'm not looking closely at grammar or content. I just want to make sure that you're on the right track, and I'm trying to check for any plagiarism issues that could negatively affect you in that final draft. And so let's take a look at what you've submitted. And so, first thing I would say is there's no need for a heading like this in the semi-formal report at all. And that's because this is like a actual workplace report, right? And so you can completely delete that heading that you had at the very top there, okay? One thing I'll point out before we start looking at each section is that you have to be consistent with your major headings and with your subheadings. And so remember, with page design, that plays a very important role in professional communication. And you have, I can see, thought through your page design and in terms of the colors that you're using and how you set everything up. But I want you to be sure that you're consistent. And so, for example, your abstract heading here is centered and it's underlined and it's in all caps. So every single major heading in the report should follow that, right? And so let's see, the next one is your introduction. Well, it's centered and it's in all caps, but it's not underlined, okay? And if we keep going down, the discussion section major heading is aligned left, so it's not centered, but it is all caps and underlined. So it really doesn't matter. I think centered is always better because it stands out a little bit more. But it really doesn't matter how you design it. So if you want them to be all centered, all caps, no underline, that's fine. Just be consistent with all of them. If you want them all to be aligned left, underline, all caps, that's fine too. Just be consistent with all of them, okay? And of course, they all should be the same size. Now, one thing I would say about the size, I personally prefer that the headings are prominent, like they really stand out. So there is no competition with a subheading that could be included in a section. And your major heading is only a 14. I would suggest that you increase that, maybe even increase that to a size 20 or an 18 or something. It doesn't have to be super large, but something that stands out a little bit more. You have used a size 11 for your body text, and that is perfect. 11 or 12 is what you're aiming for. And so that is fine. But I would say enlarge those headings, those major headings, just a little bit. And so back to your abstract. Just a quick glance, it does look like you have achieved the structure that I'm looking for. And so I see that your abstract paragraph does provide like that overview. At first glance, your body paragraph does provide the detailed information, and then that last paragraph talks about what you recommend. And so that looks to be really good, in really good shape. And now with your introduction, with your purpose statement. And again, if you enlarged this, let's just go back to what we had before, 20, then this can be maybe a little bit bigger to stand out a little bit more as well. Okay, do you see how that kind of offsets one another a little bit better there? And so you can play around the page design a little bit more with that. But your purpose statement, just at first glance, looked good. And you want to be consistent again. So this is not italicized, but this one is. And so if you italicize it, that's fine. You just want to italicize all of your subheadings throughout the report. If you don't italicize it, you want to be consistent in that way too throughout the report. And so your industry background section looks good at first glance, but there is no in-text citation. And so I would say to make sure you add an in-text citation at the end of this paragraph because you've gotten this information from ONET. Okay, and so you want to indicate that you've gotten that from ONET. We'll look at your ONET source in just a little bit, okay? And then also at the bottom here of your graphic, and it's not letting me add it to the bottom, but at the bottom of your graphic, you want to put the word source, and then you want to put the in-text citation for ONET again, because that's where you've gotten this information from. Okay, now normally I would say to make this paragraph thicker, but it does work with how you've laid out the page, and so that's fine, but it is important that you go back and add your in-text citation here for ONET, and then put source, colon, and then your in-text citation for ONET. I would also say as a page design feature to make this heading a little bit more prominent, make this stand out, okay, a little bit more. So, and you don't actually have to put every day extremely important or more than 40 hours under the percentage category. One thing I would say to do is to make sure it's all in ascending or descending order. So if you're going to start with 100%, then work down to 99, then work down to 93, then work down to 78. Or you can start with 72 and work your way up, okay? But just make sure that it is in some type of order for that visual, okay? So that takes care of your introduction section. Your discussion section, the information that you included looked good. Again, if this is going to be how you do your subheadings, bold, 11 point, aligned left, then you want to make sure that that's going to match exactly how you do your subheadings on this page. Okay, so you just want to be consistent throughout. And your discussion section, when I just kind of glanced over it, it looks like it's complete. It looks like you have at least 2 pages. You don't have many subheadings, but that's okay in terms of how you structured everything. Now, one thing I would say is that, of course, on first reference, you want to mention the person by their name, okay? And so I normally say to start with the introduction of the person, but I think it works with you starting with South State Bank. So Kevin Odom is the name of your contact person. However, whenever you mention him again, you don't want to say Kevin. That's too informal for something that would be formal for the workplace. So do not use his first name every time that you reference him, right? The first time you reference him, use his complete name, Kevin Odom. After that, you want to say Odom. Refer to him by his last name, or Mr. Odom. Either one of those would be fine. Okay, and so make sure you go back and change that. And I see that you have an in-text citation for South State Bank. By the way, you want to make sure the period is at the end of the in-text citation. So move the period to the very end in both of these cases. And I see you have an in-text citation for the state. That's really good for both of those. But you want to make sure that you also have in-text citation for your interview with Kevin Odom. And so what I would say to do, just to be on the safe side and avoid any plagiarism issues, is to put an in-text citation at the end of every paragraph, just like I've done here. Okay, so it would read Odom. If this paragraph contains information that you've gotten from Odom, then you would do the same exact thing. Does that make sense? Okay, and it's better to overdo it than to underdo it. And so just make sure that you go in and you add those in-text citations. And of course that is true. So if you've gotten other information in here from another source, like the state or from South State Bank, then you would put South State Bank or the state. Okay, and so just make sure that you go through and do that for your discussion section. You have met the 2-page minimum, it looks like, and that's a good thing. And in terms of your references, you don't need the numbered list, by the way. You just want to start this at the left margin. And if you, let's just see if I can take it away so we can see what it would look like. Okay, so let's say I take this one away, okay? And so what you want to do is highlight it, and then here in this paragraph section of Word, click on that, and where it says indentation in this section, you just want to put hanging. You want to select the hanging option and then click OK. What that does is it means that every time you hit enter and start a new line, it will start it at the left margin. But as you're typing, if your lines wrap around, then it will automatically indent every line, every second and subsequent line, okay? And that's good for references pages because it lets you know where a new citation begins. Whatever is on that left margin would be where that new full citation would begin, okay? And so just take away the numbered list and just make sure that your sources are in alphabetical order. And your personal interview, you don't need the word in, so you can take that out, and then capitalize the P in personal, the I in interview. Otherwise, this looks good. South State Bank, you went to the About Us page. This looks good. The state, it looks like you might need to switch this. Um, and so I'm not certain that this citation is correct. I think you should check it. I think it probably is Burris, comma, Roddy, period, and then the state, or Burris, comma, Rodney, period, and then if the title is Q&A with John Winley, new South State Bank CEO, that would be in quotes. Then the state would be italicized, and then you would go from there. Okay, so just double check your textbook for what it says about how to include that that full citation. And I'm assuming you've gotten it from the website since it says web. And so look at a website citation. And if you have questions and you need some more assistance with that, let me know. Okay? Now, let's look at this ONET full citation, Destiny, because this one is not correct. And so you looked at financial managers. So let's see, if we went to ONET, and if we typed in, and I'm just going to type in financial managers, you might have looked for something different. So just go back to whatever you've looked at. And let's say, maybe this was the one you had. Let's just look at this one. Now, remember what I said. This is going to be the easiest citation that you ever have to do ever, because ONET will do it for you. And so what you want to do is at the very bottom of the page, scroll all the way down. At the very bottom, in the middle, underneath the social media icons, you want to click on the link that says Cite this page. And bam, ONET does the MLA citation for you. It can't get any easier than that, right? So what you want to do is copy this, and you can right click it to copy it. Or I just did a Control C actually to copy it. And you can paste it then into your, and this is going to still give me the numbered list because I haven't taken it away yet. But you can paste it there, okay? So let's just make this larger because I think this is kind of tiny here. Let's just say we make it 11 just for the sake of example, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and take away this bullet point here. I mean this numbered list here. Alright, so of course we want to format it correctly by highlighting it and making sure that we make it a hanging indentation. Okay, so that way that second line should, well, it didn't do it, but it should wrap around automatically, like so. Okay, so now this is your correct ONET citation. Okay, this is the correct full citation. You notice that it starts with a number. So if you leave this as it is, your full citation would begin 11-3031.02. That's exactly how your full citation would begin. Okay? Excuse me, your in-text citation would begin. Your in-text citation, of course, you want to make sure that it mirrors the beginning of your full citation. And so you've gotten that right with the state and with the South State Bank. Now you want to go back and make sure that this is actually correctly formatted. If it's not, then your in-text citation would change. I've gotten this one correct. But you can use this set of numbers as your in-text citation. Another thing you can do is at the very top of this ONET summary report, what you can do is instead of using the set of numbers they give you, you can just type in place of that set of numbers, this title, Financial Managers, comma, branch, or department. So if you were to switch it out, you would put Financial Managers, branch, or department here in place of the set of numbers. And then when you do your in-text citation, that in-text citation could be financial, right, or financial managers. That would suffice. And so just make sure that you go back and you fix that ONET citation, okay? All right. And so those are the main things I wanted to point out to you. You are on the right track. I mean, I can tell that you've been working on this and that you've been working hard on it. So good job on that. Just make sure you make the tweaks with page design. Make sure all of your in-text citations are there. Make sure your references page citations are correct. And just let me know where you have other questions. I want you to be very successful with this report. I want all students to be successful with it, and I want you to be ready for that final draft. Okay, so just contact me and let me know what questions you have. Thanks so much, Destiny.